Welcome back, everyone. After much thorough research.
Objection.
So you're saying that on the night in question, the victim, Mr. Windybank, was wielding a gun. Is that correct? That's it, Gov. You've got the picture. Yes, Nash, yes, no question. And yet, photographic evidence obtained immediately after the incident clearly shows that Mr. Windybank was not holding a firearm of any description. You what? Gordon Bennett, that ain't right.
Objection.
There can be no question that the victim's revolver was used in the incident. I would remind the courts that Mr. Windybank's gun was found at the scene. Not only was it identified as a murder weapon, but it was found in the accused's hand. Yeah, the mall teller used the victim's own gun to finish him off. Give me that gun. Kind of the thing.
Hold it.
Stay exactly where you are, right there. Eh? If the crime had taken place as you so colorfully described in your testimony, it would give rise to an undeniable and significant inconsistency in the final moments you just acted out. Goodness, are you sure, counsel? You intrigue me, my learned friend. But let's see some evidence to support your claim. Where is the proof that demonstrates this inconsistency in the witness's portrayal of the victim's final moments?
Take that.
Right there, it's in the back. According to their testimony, the witnesses claim to have heard a shout, "Give me that gun," followed by the gunshot. Indeed, with the two events happening almost simultaneously, or so we've been led to believe. Yes, that's right. Now, if that testimony is true, it would mean that the moment of death the victim was an attacker would have been facing each other. However, if I could ask the court to study the photograph of the victim's body again, you can clearly see that Mr. Windybank was in fact shot from behind. Ah. So as I stated before, there is an undeniable inconsistency in your testimony, Mr. and Mrs. Skulkin. Yeah. But if the gods wants truth. Is it, Nash? It is. When we was shot that night, the shopkeeper had a gun in this, and we saw it with our own bleeding eyes. Did I hear you right just now? You actually saw Mr. Windybank holding a gun. Something like that might have slipped out. Oh, Zeeks is not happy. Ladies and gentlemen, you have all just heard the admission by these two witnesses that on the night in question they actually saw with their own eyes the victim wielding a gun. Which can only mean that despite the testimony to the contrary, the Skulkin brothers must have encountered the victim in person. Nash, ooh. Order. Witness, explain yourselves at once. Well, the thing is, we weren't supposed to. It would seem that my previous warning fell on deaf ears. I made it quite clear that a false witness would be the death of you. And am I to understand that you replaced the untruth of your original testimony with renewed lies? Ever so sorry, Governor. Truth is, Cut it out, Nash, cut it out. If we blab now, you know what it'll do to us. Who are they talking about? Let's make your position here perfectly clear. You will talk. There is no other option available to you. Bruv, come on, the game's up. But I'll have our guts for a Carter. In the case it hasn't quite sunk in yet, no matter how hard you try to hide it, the truth will come out. On the night in question, it is now apparent that you brothers met face to face with the victim. I demand that you testify again and explain the precise circumstances in which this meeting took place. Well, do we have to? On the pain of death. I suggest you make yourselves fully aware that this is your very last chance to tell the truth. Here we go. Alright, so we just got inside the gaff and heaved a sigh of relief when the geezer showed up its mug. Give me that gun, bellowed. He flew at us like he was possessed. Thought we had it. For old geezer, the bloke was strong as an ox. He chucked me over the counter. I pulled me gun on him, and then he legged it through that door into the back room. We never had nothing to do with kill him. That's all that happened, I swear. So you're now telling us that moments before the victim was killed in the storeroom, you in fact encountered him in the main part of the shop. Yeah. Sorry. Well, we find ourselves at an interesting juncture. This changes matters considerably. But honest, Governor, this time, Nash, this time, we ain't got nothing more to hide. Very well, counsel for the defense. You may proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. This is it. The moment I've been waiting for. Encounter with the victim. Alright, so we just got inside the gaff and heaved a sigh of relief and the geezer showed his mug. When you say geezer, I presume you mean the victim and the proprietor of the shop, Mr. Windybank. Who else? Sorry, I mean, that's right. We was keeping a close eye on the entrance to the gaff, obviously. But we never thought no one was going to come out of the back room like that. The back room being the pawnbrokery storeroom. Yeah, that must have been where he popped up from. Only place could have been. So it seemed the victim was already in the storeroom when these brothers entered the premises. Which means Guinea must have been in there at the point as well. That doesn't make sense, does it? If Gina had threatened Mr. Windybank into the storeroom with her at gunpoint, then why would he have emerged from the same room all alone if the brothers arrived? Oh, I don't know. Did you see the accused at the time? What? Maltuller? Couldn't tell you. No way, Copper. We had bigger fish to fry then. I mean, the old geezer just lost it. Give me that gun, he bellowed, and it flew at us like we was possessed. And I thought we had it. You mentioned that Mr. Windybank shouted those words in your previous testimony, too. However, you claim that you heard him yelling out on the other side of the storeroom door. Yeah, did we? But the truth is, he was shouting those words at you, wasn't he? Well, yeah. Was the victim Mr. Windybank wielding a gun at the time? Was he ever? Blimey, a great ugly barrel, yeah. Went straight up me front space. So what you're saying is, you definitely saw Mr. Windybank with the gun at the time, is that right? It is, Gov, it is. Spot on. Then all of a sudden he came at us, he did. It was Bedlam, I know he was going for who. You were clearly all going for each other. Like Nash said, we thought we had it, I mean. For an old geezer, the bloke was strong as an ox. He chucked me over the counter. Yes, I noted that you mentioned at the counter in your previous testimony, too. Well, yeah. Of course we did. He knocked over a load of books, a candlestick, and at some point skull and whatnot. That got me tangled up in some marionette. We knocked picture frame. We knocked some scales on the floor. So in fact, it wasn't the sound of the gunshots that shocked you and made you knock those things off the counter. Well, Big Brother here went flying over that counter like a gunshot, I tell you. That old geezer pinned him. He did, Nash, he did. And yet I hadn't been there, the bloke would have flattened me like a blooming pancake in seconds. At the time in question, the alarm was raised at the local police station via secret cable from the pawnbrokery. There was a button under the counter that used to activate it, which was presumably pressed by the victim. That's right. When the brothers fled the scene and back on the street, they ran straight into the arriving police, didn't they? Poor Mr. Windybank, he did everything he could to protect his shop. I pulled my gun on him and his leg through the door. Were you intending to shoot Mr. Windybank? No, never. I was just, you know, looking out for me bruv, weren't I? He was being flattened, don't forget. By a man whose shop was being burgled, yes. And then the man fled into the storeroom when you pointed your gun at them, is that it? Yeah, that's it. He shoved me away, then ran off of that door and shut himself in. There's something about that last remark. Something that doesn't quite ring true. I wonder why Mr. Windybank ran away to the storeroom. What? Well, according to what everyone's saying, Guinea was there waiting for him with a gun. Ah, yes, that's right. Guinea allegedly used Mr. Windybank's gun to threaten him and force him to open the storeroom door. In which case, how did the gun end up in Mr. Windybank's hands again? I have no idea, but that's strange, isn't it? This little inconsistency could be significant. I should make a mental note of it. Look, the point is, me and Bruv here. That's right, Nash, that's right. Me and Bruv here. You say you had nothing to do with it. Nothing at all. Nothing, Gov, nothing. The old geezer went and shut himself in the back room, didn't he? Locked it was from the inside. We knew it because we tried to open it. But it's a decent door, that one. Good and strong, wouldn't budge an inch. So in the end, the situation remains unchanged. Inside the storeroom with the pawnbroker, there was only one other person. The sole person who could possibly have shot the victim, the accused, Miss Gina Lestrade. I wonder what would indeed appear so. What say to that, Counsel? I don't know. Was there anything else apart from Gina that could possibly have shot Mr. Windybank? Mr. Skulkin. Yeah, what? What's that look for? From the moment you admitted that you encountered the victim face to face that night, the course of this trial changed completely. It did. What is your point, my learned friend? The question we must answer is, who could have shot Mr. Windybank? And it's the belief of the defense that the defendant is not the only possible answer at all. You have my attention. In that case, let us return to this plan of the premises. The victim was killed in the storeroom, which was locked from the inside. Those are the facts. So pray, what other possible answer to the question was shot and man could there be? Counsel, you must now provide answers to the court in respect to two conundrums. Two, my lord. Twice as many chances to be right, maybe. Indeed, namely, from what location did the culprit shoot the victim? And furthermore, where was the victim at the time? Understood, my lord. Are you alright, Runo? I'm not entirely sure. But there's one thing I'm sure about. If I can prove that there's a credible new alternative to what happened, it would change Gina's prospects hugely. So now, time for some clarity. Show the court on this plan the answer to the question posed by his lordship. If you believe someone else could have killed the victim, indicate from that person could have fired his gun.
Take that!
The defense believes that the culprit could have shot the victim from this location. And answer the second question. Assuming the culprit fired from the location indicated, where was the victim at the time?
Take that!
The culprit shot the victim from outside the storeroom. Continue. Mr. Windybank died instantly from a bullet wound in his back. Looking at the stain of the blood on the storeroom floor, it doesn't appear that the body was moved after death, which tells us that he was almost certainly shot while he was in the storeroom. However, the crucial point is, where was the shooter when the fatal bullet was fired? So you're adamant that the shot was fired from outside the storeroom? Well, according to the Skulkin brothers' earlier testimony, I pulled me gun on him, and we legged it through the door in the back room. If Mr. Windybank ran away through the door, We have to assume that the door was open at the time. Ah. It was at precisely that moment when the victim was fleeing for his life that these brothers had the perfect opportunity to shoot the man in the back once he was inside the storeroom. Come to think of it, do you remember what the prosecutor said at the start of the trial? Moving on to find the Scotland Yard corner, this report states that the bullet entered the body at a rising diagonal trajectory. It means the victim was likely shot by someone significantly shorter in height than himself. Poor man, shot while he was running as fast as he could to safety. Of course. He would have been leaning forward as he was running away. So even if the bullet was fired horizontally, it still would have entered the body at an upward trajectory. So the culprit isn't necessarily someone shorter than Mr. Windybank. I'm sure my learned friend can't have forgotten that the storeroom door was found closed and locked from the inside. You claim the victim was shot as he fled in the room. Do you also claim his corpse was careless enough to turn the key to the lock? Ah, but what if someone else was locked the door? Yes, there is someone who could have locked the storeroom door. Is that so? Very well then, counsel. Present your hypothesis to the court. In the scenario just described, the defense's assertion is that the victim was shot from outside the storeroom. In which case, who shut and locked the storeroom door from the inside?
Take that!
Obviously, the person who locked the door was the only other person inside the storeroom at the time. The defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade.
Objection!
That's absurd. You're suggesting that the accused deliberately engineered the sealed room. For what possible reason? Such actions would only serve to tighten the noose around her neck. I am inclined to agree, I must say. Well, counsel? Ah, yes. That's a tricky one, that. Isn't it? Half-baked notions are no place in my courtroom, counsel. Remember that, please. But of course Guinea would have locked the door. It almost goes without saying, doesn't it? It does. Well, if I was Guinea in that situation, I know I would have locked the door, and as quickly as I could. I mean, those two burglars had just fired a gun in her direction, hadn't they? Oh yes, obviously. Before the two brothers arrived, Miss Lestrade and Mr. Windybank were in the storeroom together. Now, I don't know what went on between them at that time, but at some point, Mr. Windybank must have heard the intruders breaking into his shop and left the storeroom. Intruders, eh? That's us, bruv. If your theory is correct, then that would leave the accused alone in the storeroom. Yes, it would. Then, probably only moments later, the victim fled back into the storeroom door, hoping to escape danger. Hit in the back by the bullet, Mr. Windybank fell on the floor where he was, just inside the storeroom. And what we have to ask ourselves now is, what would the defendant have done in that moment? I see where you're going with this. Outside the storeroom was a terrifying killer who had just murdered Mr. Windybank. As soon as that thought struck Miss Lestrade, she slammed the door shut and locked it, in order to save her own life.
Hold it!
But we still need to explain how the gun got in her hand. But I mean, we ain't the ones who done it. We ain't, Gov, we ain't. You gotta believe us. I mean, come on. We never shoot no one.
Objection!
That blatantly untrue, I know for a fact that you would. But before my own eyes, you shot Mr. Herlock Sholmes. There's only one logical conclusion here. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin, your brothers had every opportunity to have been the true perpetrators of Mr. Windybank's murder. Where does this leave us? You mean to say that it wasn't the pickpocket who shot the pawnbroker after all? I should have known it was those three brothers. They look as shady as a dense forest. That was amazing, Bruno. All the members of the jury seem to be firmly on your side now. I know, first time ever. And probably the last. Well, I think you've done it. Surely they'll have to give a verdict if not. No. I'm not... if I were a jury member, I wouldn't even be 100% right now either. An admirable effort, my learned friend. We need to explain how the gun got from... He's laughing. You find the situation amusing, Lord Van Zieks. I myself find the defense's argument most persuasive. I dare say, such... Oh, a new word! Okay. So, I'm actually going to look this word up. Chicanary. I've never heard this word. The use of trickery to achieve a political, financial, or legal purpose. Yay, we learned a new word. I have never seen that word in my life. And butter on the street of the performance of your provincial Eastern nation. I gotta see how it's pronounced. Hold on.
Chicanery. Chicanery. Chicanery.
Chicanary.
Chicanery.
Chicanary. Cool. But such blatantly malicious conjuring tricks amount to nothing more than inexcusable pedophagy here. What? The hypothesis you put forward is so ostensibly, credibly cannot and will not stand. Man, his dictionary is in overdrive right now, man. You see, because you see it contains one fatal flaw. A fatal flaw? Do you mean to tell me that you're unaware of your own logic's failing? I say, Lord Van Zieks, might be an idea to explain this valley conjuring trick or whatever it is the troops on the ground, eh? The fatal flaw is in my learned friend's argument is really very simple to understand. Assuming you're not too dim-witted to count bullets. By George, count bullets. Oh dear. He noticed then. Huh? What's everyone talking about? Counsel. Yes, sir. Tell the court how many bullets were found at the scene of the crime. 2. 2 bullets. Correct. The first that which hit the victim in the back, ending his life. And the second that which stuck the detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, on arrival at the scene. Indeed, the defense presented a picture showing the damage done by the second bullet early in the proceedings. God, this music's so good. The bullet which injured Mr. Sholmes appears to have passed through his body to strike the calendar. Your lordship's understanding is correct. Furthermore, we know that there are 2 firearms involved in the incident. The revolver belonging to the victim, Mr. Windybank, and the Skulkin Brothers revolver. The evidence shows that a single bullet was fired from each gun. Yes, indeed it does. A single bullet from each. Now then, my learned friend. You yourself told the court only moments ago that these 2 brothers shot Mr. Herlock Sholmes right before your eyes. Yes, I did. Oh my goodness. I think you'll find that it's a single bullet that was fired from the brothers' gun hit Mr. Sholmes, it means. Windybank's not shot by the same gun. Stop, only 1 bullet, stop! Hey, how's it going, Chills? Welcome. Really quick, I already told Tyson this and I already trust you enough. Do not spoil Batman or Sonic the Hedgehog. I have not seen either as they release later. Batman is in theaters. I haven't had the chance to go see it at the mall. But, yeah. If you've seen Sonic, don't say anything about anything. Even if it's something simple. Exactly. Also, spoiler territory where we are right now. Yes, the Nippony street performer presented an ostensibly credible argument, however. It was never anything more than a diversionary trick with no hope of standing up to scrutiny. RIP. Order, order, order! Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging the dregs of this hallowed nectar into the public gallery. Lord Van Zieks. But this court needs to open its eyes. The accused, Miss Gina Lestrade, is no ordinary little girl. Despite her young years, she can regrettably no longer be described as a juvenile. No, the person in the dock is far from law-abiding citizen. She is a past riddled with criminal conduct. The truth is, the accused broke into pawnbroker on the night in question with loathsome intent. As we can see beyond doubt in this print, which depicts her life threatening the victim in the murder weapon. And I have here in my possession One more piece of evidence prosecution wishes to present. The disc. I'll be taking whatever is McGilded down to the yard, thank you very much. No, don't. Don't give it to him. It's mine, that is. It's mine. I'm sorry, miss. But anything belonging to McGildred has to be taken as evidence now. Haven't seen the Vampire Batman yet. If things go smoothly, should be seeing Sonic 2 on Tuesday. Yeah, unfortunately, I gotta wait a couple 40 days. That's it. Music about this. That's his disc. The very day before the hateful murder of Mr. Windibank, the accused attempted to make off this article which clearly doesn't belong to her, and with none other subtlety of the pickpocket, I might add, but by brute force and brazen impudence. Good gracious. Make no mistake, I have any sympathy for the accused on the account of her years as misguided and dangerous. There is no depth to which this girl would not stoop to be pushed, no crime she would not commit. The court forgets the fact that it's peril. I see. I think it would be prudent to take this music box 6 in evidence, counsel, as a grim testament to the defendant's character. Lord Van Zeeks, Inspector Gregson. What? Yes, Inspector. We had a meeting yesterday at the yard with the prosecution service, and, I think it was agreed that the disc wouldn't be used as evidence. What's this all about? Why is the inspector acting strangely? That's the first time he said anything to Van Zeeks at all. I'm unaware of any such meeting. But those were the instructions right from the top. The government bigwigs were insistent. Oh, we're going to connect the cases. We're connecting cases. Inspector, I am the prosecutor, and I alone determine how to present my case. Your warning is not noted. Thank you. The prosecution wishes to proceed with submitting the disc as evidence, my lord. Indeed. Bailiff. The music disc has been entered into your court of record. Here we go. This is a great turning point. Oh, Runo, look. This is blood. Yes, you're right. Just a small smear, but definitely blood. Actually, I feel as though I might have noticed that before. Then it's my time to shine again. I thought I've been waiting forever. All right, hold still with the disc, Runo. Can we get this done quickly, Iris? In a flash. I fucking knew it was going to turn green. In my head, I echoed green. Lovely bright shade again. That color. What is it? It's just that green. It's not the first time we've seen that color, is it? The blood samples portfolio has been updated in the court record. See, I wanted it to turn... We knew it wasn't going to turn blue. Purple was inconsistent. How is that connected? Could there have been a third shot? And baseness of character. There is nothing more to add. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I await your informed decisions and rest my case. I don't believe it. I had the jury on my side for once, for all 5 minutes. I wasn't even 5 minutes, Runo. My lord. Wonder if I might say something at this point. Proceed, Mr. Foreman. Been stumbling about in a bit of fog up to now, if the truth be told, but all of a sudden. The answer is barely obvious to me and my men. There's only one thing for it. Oh no. Very well, the court will hear from the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, you will present your leanings as the defendant's culpability.
Guilty.
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 I love how the surgeon just uses his head. We have a consensus among the jury, it seems. When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. That's my letter. I wrote that for Hurley. The jury is against us. Don't worry, Iris. I don't think we're finished yet. There's still more to this case than we realize. There must be, because there's one more thing that I'm absolutely certain of. Geena didn't shoot Mr. Windybank. That's beyond any doubt. Very well. We will proceed with the second summation examination of the day. Mr. Foreman, are you and the other jurors ready? Gyarados Squadron is primed and ready for action. Very good. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have now determined the defendant to be guilty. Once a rogue, always a rogue, I say. Different breed to us law-abiding citizens. As only 2 bullets were found at the scene, I would say the whole case is done and dusted. You don't need a stereoscope to see the truth here. Every way you look at it, it's a pickpocket. I never imagined that simple operation would cause me such grief. What's on his hands? We need to know what's on his hands. The accused attempted a theft the previous day. I can see I'm in for a busy day ahead. I am ballistics expert. I've seen many shootings. There is nothing I do not know about guns. I like to see there's little remaining room for doubt. I have to admit I was rather bowled over by the argument put forward by the chap in black. But when that fell apart like a house of cards, I thought I had jolly well been hoodwinked. Well, no more. The whole courtroom is turning against me. It's not fair. Iris. That prosecutor's being mean. It's because Ginny's done the same things she shouldn't have in the past. Let's make her a murderer. Allow me to savor this fruity vintage, while I savor the spectacle of your fruitless debate on the matter. Here's to the truth coming out, eventually. That's enough preamble, counsel. Proceed with the summation examination. Yes, my lord. I have something in my head, and I'm just trying to picture how. Once a rogue, always a rogue, I say. Different breed to us law-abiding citizens.
Hold it!
Just because Lestrade has a history of pickpocketing, she must be guilty of murder? Is that what you're saying? Ah, well. Are all members of the British Army so quick to judge? I beg your pardon, are you mocking Her Majesty's Armed Forces, the greatest military organization in the world? No, I'm simply illustrating my point. Making assumptions about people because they're a soldier or a pickpocket is wrong and dangerous. Well, yes, might have a point there, I suppose. But let's not forget the girl had already shown she had it in her form before. She's clearly a criminal sort through and through. Can't deny it. When you say that, she's shown she had it in her, are you referring to this? Exactly. Tired to swipe only a day earlier, or am I mistaken? Not exactly. Given that I was actually here at the time, it's hard to refute that. I never actually seen the real thing. I can't wait to have a closer look at it. Oh yes, of course. Mr. Sholmes did use his caramel bars to make a copy of the disc, didn't he? and then ordered every type of music box he could find from across Europe. We still don't know what tune it plays, though, do we? But I'd love to see how the original compares to Hurley's copy. We gilded its disc. Could it be a clue somehow? Perhaps we should examine it more in detail. As only 2 bullets were found at the scene, I would say the whole case is done and dusted. It's the number of bullets that has you convinced. Only 2 bullets were fired, and 2 guns that fired them have been examined by the police. When the parlor maid asks me how many are invited for dinner, I always tell her to count the table settings. Well, that's logical, I suppose. Although, yes, sometimes after dining, crockery does go missing. 1 or 2 guests rather like fine china. Does your employer dine with thieves? So I suppose. If there was another bullet somewhere, of which we were unaware, I'd have to reconsider my position. A 3rd bullet somewhere on the scene. Could that be possible? It's impossible for now. That surgeon needs to tell us about his operation. Only 2 bullets were discovered by the police during their investigation. Yes, I know. Right. And I don't imagine the good mean of Scotland Yard would be overlooked anything. If I missed a bullet while I was cleaning his lordship's office, well, I should receive a sound scolding, I don't doubt. And he should receive a visit from the police, perhaps. Sounds like a crime scene to me. A 3rd bullet. It would completely turn things around if there was one, wouldn't it? Do you think we might find one lying around somewhere?
Hold it!
Would you please stop muttering about things that have nothing to do with this trial, sir? The defendant's life is on the line here. Well, the thing is, I couldn't really say that it was nothing to do with this trial, to be honest. Huh? I mean, there's no question that the man was shot, but the bullet had simply vanished from his stomach. It's quite inexplicable, don't you think? I almost don't want to ask, but is the surgery you've been muttering about all this time you were operating on... What was that fellow's name now? Hurlich? No, Herlock? No. Herlock? Herlock Sholmes, by any chance. Yes, good lord. It was the Herlock fellow. What? You're the surgeon that operated on Sholmes? That's right, using the very latest anesthetic techniques, I might add. It's a fairly major op, I can tell you. This is crazy. Let me see. The fellow was brought in by long after midnight, if I remember correctly. They said he'd been shot by some criminal or another, so I opened him up like a shot. But the funny thing is, I went over his insides with a fine-tooth comb and couldn't find the bullet anywhere. So I'm afraid I had to throw up my hands and just stitch the fellow back up. I hate to state the obvious, but... yes. Surely that's because the bullet is still at the scene of the shooting. The counsel for the defense is correct. As clearly shown in this photographic print, the bullet that Skulkin Brothers fired at Sholmes hit him in the stomach region. Then exiled his body logged in the shop wall where the calendar is hanging by the door. I think you'll find it's really quite simple if you just consider the problem 3-dimensionally. What do you think I am, son? Well, juror number 4, it's about the best I can do. As soon as I saw the wound to the man's stomach, I flipped him over. Like a pancake. Are you saying you checked his back? Of course I did. And over there was a trace of injury. No sign of the bullet had left the body at all. What? That's the point. The only logical conclusion was that the bullet was still somewhere in the man's innards. Which is exactly why I said about slicing him up. Am I still none the wiser even now? How many times do I have to say it? Can somebody please explain how it happened? Could somebody please solve the mystery? It's almost as much as a mystery as how this jury was put together. Do we have a 3rd bullet? Yes.
Objection!
Oh, fuck. I'm an idiot. Sorry, Albin can't accept that as squadron leader. What? All fighting for a common cause, don't you know, my chaps? No way they contradict one another. I concur, Mr. Foreman. We will frame for personal act and jury based on soul frustrations. I gotta go back into her testimony. I just went... I gung-hoed it.
Hold it!
We're just gonna skip to the question. Allow me to show you then the third bullet.
Take that!
I don't suppose this would pass as the third bullet? It passes for a bullet as much as you pass for a lawyer, my learned friend. Coming from you, I'm gonna take that as meaning, not much. In no way does it resemble a bullet, if that helps your understanding of my last remark. Counsel, at the very least, I would expect the evidence you present to be of correct form. Shit! We're losing ground here. Let's keep grab.
Hold it!
So if I understand correctly, you need two pictures, one left eye and a slightly different right eye one. Exactly, then you could see the scene in 3 dimensions. Like this. So if we have 2 bullets, I don't suppose you can see anything useful with them. I think you'll find that no matter how much you squint, the truth of the situation always looks the same here. The only person who could have shot the victim is that girl on the dock. How can you be so sure of that? Think about it. The Skulkin brothers shot the great detective, didn't they? Yes, that's been mentioned once or twice. Well, then surely it's coming to focus now, isn't it? This is a waste of time. I'm not going to change this man's mind anytime soon.
Hold it!
What do you mean you're on for a busy day? Forgot to say, stop. Do excuse me, stop. I am a communications officer, stop. A communications officer? Does that have something to do with sending telegrams? Everything from personal messages written by members of the public to the latest news in the capital. I convert all the messages into Morse code and tap it out in the entire world electronically. To the entire world. Thousands of miles of cable under the sea, stop. Worldwide communication network, stop. Information transmitted from all corners of the globe, stop. Ah, yes. She was getting equally worked up about the radio waves like that before, wasn't she? I specialize in communicating information from government departments and newspaper offices. I see. I'm sure I'll have to write our newspaper reports of today's guilty verdict later. So no sleep for me tonight, I imagine. Let's just finish the trial first, shall we?
Hold it!
I thought you were just a tourist. Good day. I am visiting London for sightseeing. I would like to take a bus to Crystal Tower, please. There's no way he's just a visiting tourist. So, you're a ballistics expert. Who knew? I have much experience with guns. Ah. I have lived through many, how do you say, extreme, violent bath of, no, blood of, extreme violent bloodbath, perhaps. Those, extreme violent bloodbath. English is very difficult tongue. Considering the sort of people you associate with, surprised you still have a tongue. Anyway, if you have questions about the bullets and guns, if you ask me, there's nothing I do not know, no mystery I cannot solve. He's very confident in his knowledge of guns, that's for sure. But, if possible, please, only in Russian language. He's not very confident in his knowledge of English, though, is he? No, still, we should bear it in mind. He's our man for the mystery about guns or bullets. Van Zieks has managed to convince everyone. When you have eliminated the impossible, he said, but he hasn't. We're going to fight back. We need more material. We haven't to fight back. We have to turn this trial around again. Ballistics and the doctor? Okay. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. He says, where's an expert when you need one? I am an expert.
Objection.
How did I not notice that? Thanks. Those two statements clearly contradict. The idea is always pit jurors against each other. A ballistics expert. Pitting. Pit. On the night in question, Mr. Sholmes was shot by one of the Skulkin brothers. But since there was no sign of an exit wound on his back, we must assume the bullet didn't pass through him. However, no bullet wound found was lodged in Mr. Sholmes' body either. Furthermore, a bullet was found lodged in the wall of the shop where Mr. Sholmes was shot. Juror number 6. Hello, my name is Violen. Pleased to meet you. This apparent contradiction of the facts is so clearly troubling juror number 4. Are you able to explain the mystery? I have seen very similar situation in Motherland. It was night, there was a blizzard. I was running away along Mountain Road in freezing cold. Golly. The snow was piling high on both sides of the road. It was very narrow and dangerous. My pursuers had hunting rifles and they were on dog sleds. Mental note, don't ask too many questions. I was shot from behind and I fell down in snow. And the situation was similar to what I hear today from Doctor. They could not find bullet in my body. And no sign of, how you say, exit wound. Then where did the bullet go? Bullet never hit me. Well, if it never hit you, why did you fall down? Bullet hit frozen wall of ice very close to my side. What? One small piece, very sharp, broke away from the lump of ice and pierced my body. It made deep wound that looks just like bullet wound. Good gracious! Of course, piece of ice quickly melted inside me, and it was a solution to mystery of disappearing bullet. But that doesn't answer the question at all. The shooting happened in the pawnbroker's shop, not some snowy mountain and road in another country. Just an idea, but might we not be looking for exactly the same scenario here? Runo? Where exactly is Hurley shot again? Well, according to the report, in his stomach. Sort of around this area, I think. Well, that's precisely where he always wears a little pouch on his belt. A pouch, actually, I might have noticed something like that. Yes, a pouch. It's where he keeps the glass vials of very dangerous chemicals he uses in investigations. What, really? Doctor, where's the pouch Mr. Sholmes was wearing? Well, the fellow had nothing like that on his person when he arrived at the hospital as far as I remember. Hold up. We're gonna stop right here for a second.